Hello world, I'm Denise. Thank you for joining me under my vine and fig tree. And tonight I want to wrap up my testimony series and explain why this channel has the name Under My Vine and Fig Tree. So thank you to all those who have supported this channel so far. And so you would have noticed over a period of time that the Lord has given me a lot of information to share. And you may be wondering, well, what is this lady's foundation? Where's she coming from? Where's she going to? Because that's something I always want to know when I watch something that when a person is speaking of matters of faith. I want to know what their authority is, what their intention is, where they're going. And so it became evident that I should lay out my testimony. And so I've been doing that with just selected highlights. And today is going to be very selected highlights. And in another video, I will go into the detail of the vine and fig tree because it's such an amazing picture. But today is just the bare bones to take the journey forward. So the very first time I encountered the term under a vine and fig tree was in 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 25. And it says, during Solomon's lifetime, Judah and Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, lived in safety, each man under his own vine and fig tree. And it was just a statement to me at the time. The next time the phrase caught my attention was in Micah 4:4. The picture there, it says the mountain of the Lord is the heading, and a chapter begins in the last days, and is this description of there will be no more war, people won't train for war anymore. And in verse 4 it says, every man will sit under his own vine and under his own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid, for the Lord Almighty has spoken. And so this reference comes up again, and it was like in the back of my mind, I've heard this somewhere before. I'm sure it sounds familiar. Then hopping over, getting to Zechariah chapter 3, verse 10, and it comes up again, but this time it has progressed into a slightly different picture. Take a listen. It says, in that day, each of you will invite his neighbor to sit under his vine and fig tree, declares the Lord Almighty. And this is such an exciting development, because the previous two times, now I had to hunt, and by this time I was using cross references, and I was able to pick up those places of where this had come up. And I got to see that there's this picture of safety, and it's very clear that there's provision as well. A vine and fig tree seem to be a place of provision by the Lord. And that was just quite exciting. But now this development of everyone inviting their neighbor means an abundance to share and an abundance available, which was exciting. But in the context of chapter 3 of Zechariah, there's such a beautiful picture of the church. Once you know the imagery and the story of the first century church, you cannot help but see this picture as a description of the church. And so there's a picture in Zechariah 3, it speaks of the branch who is Jesus, and it speaks of this removing the sin of this land in a single day, and that's the crucifixion. And in that day, each one will invite their neighbor. And so there's this picture that, yes, the church is born. And what happened when in the early century church? They met in one another's houses. Neighbors met together and they ate together. And more than that, they witnessed to each other. They shared information. They testified. They shared the gospel. They shared words of knowledge. They prophesied to each other. They spoke in tongues. There was this information that the Lord was pouring out to them through the Holy Spirit, and they were sharing. And it was a beautiful, beautiful time, not only of eating together in fellowship, but of this Rhema word of knowledge and Rhema information coming forward, the word of the Lord being shared. And so this idea, this picture of everyone inviting their neighbor under their vine and fig tree, is a picture of evangelism. And is a picture for today. It's a picture that's been from that time to today. but ever so exciting. And I've been excited about this. Lord, I want to do this. I want to be doing this, inviting my neighbor under my vine and fig tree. I've been watching and watching as, Lord, I wonder if anybody else is doing this, and watching, and it's been a time of excitement and tension and so on. Anyway, that was in 2018 when this progression, I'd now reached this verse in Zechariah, and it was like, okay, now what? And it took quite a bit of time. It was in 2023, on the 24th of October, that now up to that time and on from that, the Lord had been pouring out so many details. And on this day, I was asking the Lord, you've shown me so much. How do I take these details and share them? I know I can't just sit on them. These are incredible revelations you're showing me. How do I share them? And I want to write them as a book or a series of books, but is there enough time? Who's going to read them? They still have to get published and put out there, and how's it going to reach people? Because I don't know if people are reading books anymore. The thought occurred to me, okay, ask the Lord a very specific question. And so it's like, because I didn't know what medium to take this forward in, if writing books is going to be a good idea or a waste of time. And so I asked the Lord, when I go back inside and I go on my phone, would you put something there? Would you have something there for me to discover, to see a way to take this forward? And so I went inside, and because a little wind had come up, and I was like, oh, that's exciting. Yes, okay, the Lord has heard me. And I'm paging through and not seeing anything specific. And then I came to people's statuses, and our local librarian had put up a number of posts actually of what she'd been doing on that day, which was an event that is hosted, I think it's throughout Africa, but anyway, it's called Articulate Africa. And this event was called the Storytelling Tree. It was an event where the oral tradition of storytelling is revisited. And so people are invited, and people in traditional dress tell the stories orally tell these stories. And it hit me. This is what the Lord is showing me. Tell the stories. We're talking about, at my tree. I was like, yes, Lord, this is exciting. But then it was okay. Now more questions come up. Well, how do I get to the people? How do I tell the people? Do I invite people to my garden? Do I go to the library and ask the librarian to set up, help me set up this event at the Storytelling Tree? Who's going to come? How's this going to happen? Will it be permitted? All of this questions start rising, and nothing really happened for a long time. But I knew now that I must tell the stories orally. Almost a year passes. On the 23rd of September of 2024, I had been praying in the morning to the Lord and praising Him because He had given me astonishing revelations again the day before, information regarding arches, and because I'd been having a pain in my foot, a dreadful pain in my foot for a long time, and I'd been researching about this foot pain, and it was shown about arch supports and things that were needed. And so in the morning, I was praying to the Lord and talking to Him about this arch, and I'm remembering that there's a keystone that is put into an arch, and suddenly the connections start coming together of a keystone is another name for a capstone, and the details start coming together, and beautiful revelation and I had been praying just prior to that, Lord, you've been showing me about the cornerstone and the plumb line, and this is amazing, and it had triggered this cornerstone keystone concept. And I was like, Lord, this is another one of these amazing details that I need to share. How do I do this? And the day progressed with so many more of these incredible concepts coming together, amalgamating. And in the afternoon, I was out at my bench and I was saying, okay, Lord, how do I do this now? I need to get the message to people. And the thought came to me, under my vine and fig tree. It was like, yes, right here, this is my bench. And another thought came flying in straight afterwards. YouTube channel. Start a YouTube channel. It's like, you're kidding me. That's the way to tell the stories orally and get the message out there. And that's where the idea was born and how the concept came together. And from then on, it was like, okay, start telling the stories. And so we're so excited to discover this and ran inside to test because now there's an old laptop inside. Let's go and see what we can do. Use what we have. I'm sure we've got the rudimentaries to get this together. And so test the laptop. Yes, it works. I can do this. Yes, it's got a webcam and so on, and found out how to make it work. The problem came when I took the laptop outside to start recording, and the audio was dreadful because the wind messed with the sound, something appalling, and it was not going to be a solution. And so it came to be about, okay, just use the title but record indoors. But it is my dream, as soon as I've got my enough resources together, to get a microphone to be able to go and record outdoors with uninterrupted audio, and to actually record in that space that I call under my vine and fig tree. And so that's the story. That's how this all came together. And now then, going forward, sharing more of these videos, more of these details, one of which will be the full picture of the under the vine and fig tree story as it comes through scripture. It's explosive. It's beautiful and amazing. And so please, would you continue following this channel and engage with me? Let me know what you think. I love to hear your comments and see where we go, and see what the Lord has to show us all as we take this journey together, witnessing, sharing under my vine and fig tree. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. God bless.